Assalamualaikum to everyone and to our lecturer, Sir Mohammad Nasir Abdullah. Today we would like to present our research project about Malaysia drug addicts cases in 2019. Before we jump into our presentation, I would like to introduce our fellow group members. Firstly, we have HANI SUHAILAH binti SALEH. Secondly, we have Nazirah binti BORHAN. And thirdly, we have ATHIRAH binti SHAK. Next, NURUL NAJWA binti Mohammad HUSSIN. And lastly, EZMIER ASHRAF bin SALLEHUDDin. Before we go further into our research project presentation, I would like to give a little bit of introduction about our research project. Drugs are not a new thing in everyday life, as they have been traced for centuries, even though the exact date is unknown. According to historical sources, drugs have been associated with fantasy by people of ancient times who consider them to be painkillers and sources of pleasure. And nowadays, some people have mistaken the usage of drugs by consuming them on a purpose to get high and to have fun, and unintentionally addicted to it. Until these days, drugs have been a major threat to our country. It has become more and more common in our country, that involving many layers of society. Next is the problem statement of this research project. Is a drug abuse disorder may appear to not only affect the person who is using it. Majority people are neglecting their responsibilities as result of drugs can negatively affect their career, children's education, family's financial security, and the status of Malaysian. Marijuana, ecstasy, and other drug use continues to be a problem among youth and adult citizens of Malaysia. In addition, drug abuse is hard to combat in rural communities due to limited resources for prevention, treatment, and recovery. In such manner, illegal activities as well as physical and social health consequences such as a poor academic performance, rises of criminal activities, and increase of risk of death from overdose and suicide is ambushing the Malaysian due to drug abuse disorder. By making an observation, this will allow us to detect which group of people are likely to be involved in drug abuse. The more research conducted, the more that we are able to see and reduce the devastating cases of drug abuse in Malaysia. The objectives that we aim to achieve from our research project is firstly to examine the significant difference of main drug addicts between the age groups. Next is to determine which gender has the highest number of drug addicts, and lastly to determine whether there is a significant difference of main drug addicts between various states in Malaysia.
Research questions help a research to become more accurate. For our study, we have decided to raise 3 research questions. The first one would be, does the mean of drug addicts differ among the age groups? For our data, we have divided 3 age groups, which are remaja from age 13 to 18, then belia from age 19 to 39, next dewasa from age 45 to above and equal to 50. We want to conclude if age has anything to do with the number of drug addict cases. The second research question is, which gender have the highest number of drug addicts? The drug addicts are divided by 2 genders that are male and female. We want to know which gender likely tend to commit drug abuse. The third research question is, does the mean of drug addict differ among the various states in Malaysia? All states in Malaysia are included in our study. We want to know which state has the highest and lowest number of drug addicts. Next, for the hypothesis statement, we want to find out the relationship between 2 variables. The first one is at least one mean of drug addicts is differ among the age groups, and the next one is at least one mean of drug addicts is differ among various states in Malaysia.
Okay, next, I will explain about the literature review. There are three main points in this literature review. The first one is Drug Addicts Age. Drug addiction is a complex concern, and in Malaysia, it has become a serious public health epidemic. Nowadays, drug abuse in Malaysia is on the rise, and this is not just about the older generation, but also about the new generation. Even the youngest one still schooling also falls in this drug abuse. This can be seen in the statistic issued by the National Drug Agency for the year of 2013, where the age involved in drug abuse is comprised of those aged 13 and over, where age group 25 to 29 years old show the highest number of drug addicts. Okay, for the second one is gender. Males show a higher tendency than females. Although the drug problem among women in Malaysia was comparably lower than among men, according to a study by the National Anti-Drug Agency for the year 2019, the majority of drug addicts are men with 96%, compared to the women who only recorded a percentage of 3.84%, SIDIC 2019. But the state of Sabah had the most serious drug problem involving women, Sabita 2007. Okay, the third one is state in Malaysia. In our perception, it is certain that drug addicts come from low-income states because the majority of drug addicts come from this group. Pahang, Kelantan, Terengganu and Perlis top of the list of most abusers and drug addicts according to the ratio of population in the state based on a study released No 2018. The state that has the largest number of drug addicts in Malaysia is Pahang. With 16,150 addicts, Pahang have 96% of its population, the total number of drug addicts in Malaysia, followed by Kelantan with 16,918 people and Terengganu with 10,576 people, and the fourth place is Perlis with 2,123 people of the total SATA di 2019.
Next is methodology. So, the first methodology is reference population. The target sample of this study is all people who live in Malaysia, which is 32.69 million people based on the Department of Statistics. Second is target sample. In our study, the target sample is derived from data.gov.my website. The data that we choose is from drug addict statistics based on age, gender and state in 2019. Therefore, it will be our sample, and from the data, we obtain 26,080 sample size. The third is research design. As we all know, drug abuse is a critical issue that happens to the whole community. Drugs has a bad influence on the addicts and the people around them. In this study, we want to know the relationship between drug addicts with their gender, age and state. Therefore, the research design that is suitable for our study is correlational research design, because it is a type of research that involves observing the two variables in order to generate a statistical responding relationship between them. Correlational design is typically cross-sectional study. The cross-sectional studies are used in social science, and it is a best study at finding out the prevalence of a phenomenon, situation, problem, attitude, relationship, or issue by taking the cross-section of the population. The next is sampling technique. In our research, we did not have any sampling techniques because we only use secondary data that we got from data.gov.my. So, from the data, we perform an analysis for our study.
Fourth, inclusion criteria. This study only focuses on drug addicts in Malaysia, which is based on several categories which are age, gender and state. For exclusion criteria, firstly, the sample of this study only taken from the data.gov.my website. It makes us difficult to get specific information for this study. Next, we did not know the reason why drug addicts involved in drug abuse. For instrument tools,
In this study, we use secondary data collection from online portal which is obtained from data.gov.my. Also, the internet-enabled devices such as PCs, laptops, tablets, and smartphones allow us to access the website. 6. Statistical methods. There are several types of statistical methods proposed for this study. Firstly, in order to examine the significant difference of mean drug addicts between the age groups, the Kruskal-Wallis will be determined. This is because our data was not normal and the assumption of one-way ANOVA was not met. Then, a bar graph will be used to determine which gender has the highest number of drug addicts. Lastly, also, the Kruskal-Wallis will be used to determine whether there is a significant difference of mean drug addicts between various states in Malaysia. The last one is flowchart of the process in collecting data. Firstly, we start with get the right data, which is secondary data from data.gov.my. After that, research introduction, problem statement, formulate research objective, research question, and hypothesis statement. Next, literature review, design research such as reference population and target sample. Analyze the data, then decide whether the data has completely analyzed. If yes, then interpret data and report finding.
The first objective of our research project is to examine the significant difference of mean drug addicts between the age groups. For the hypothesis statement, the null hypothesis, the mean drug addicts among the age are the same. For the alternative hypothesis, at least one mean drug addicts among the age is different. Firstly, we will check on the frequency of drug addicts cases based on the age groups. So we have remaja, age 13 to 15 with frequency of 26 until dewasa above 50 with frequency of 1847. Then we use bar graph to see which group of age has the highest and the lowest cases of drug addicts. We use library ggplot2. As you can see, the bar graph shows that the year age 25 to 29 has the highest drug addicts cases, whereas remaja age 13 to 15 has the lowest cases of drug addicts. Next, we compute a summary statistics of drug addicts cases by age group with library dplyr. We will obtain the median and the interquartile range value. Next, we use box plots and mean plots to see whether the data is normally distributed or not. We use library ggpubr. As you can see, the box plot shows that it is not normally distributed, but it is skewed to the right. And for the mean plot graph shows that it is skewed to the right as well. This, in fact, since it is not normally distributed, we use Kruskal-Wallis to check whether the drug addicts cases and the age of groups has a significant difference. The p-value is below 0.001, so we can conclude that there are a significant difference between the treatment groups. Next, we perform done tests for multiple comparison of the age groups. The done test for multiple comparisons of age groups shows that all the main drugs addicts between age groups are significantly different since the p-value is less than 0.05.
Next, the second objective for our study is that we want to determine which gender has the highest number of drug addicts. Using aggregate function, a table of each gender with their total frequency in year 2019 is shown. Using this table, there are clearly huge differences of the number of drug addicts among two genders, which is 23818%. This indicates that most drug addicts come from male. To prove that drug addicts are mostly male, we decided to construct a bar graph so that it is clearly shown that male has the higher number of drug addicts rather than female. As you can see, L is a male with the blue color, and P is a female with the pink color. So here you can see that there are huge differences between two of this bar graph.
The last objective is to determine whether there is a significant difference of mean drug addicts between various states in Malaysia. Now I will show the coding how we got the result for our study. First, we check the data type and the level of the data. Next, we calculate the total number of drug addicts for each state area, so we can see which state has the highest and the lowest drug addicts. Next, we construct a bar graph. So from the bar graph, we can see Kedah has the highest number of drug addicts and Putrajaya has the lowest number of drug addicts, which is for Kedah it has 3,582 people and for Putrajaya it has 43 people. Next, we compute a summary statistic for each state, which we calculate the median and the inter-quarter range. After that, we check the normality for our data. We use box plot. This is our box plot. And mean plot. This is our mean plot. So to check whether our data is normal or not, we use box plot. So from the box plot, we can see that there is not normally distributed because they are skewed to the right. Because of our data is not normal, so we choose to perform Kruskal-Walker test. So from the result, we can see that the chi-square is 60.8, the p-value is less than 0.001,
And the degree of freedom is 15.
So since our p-value is less than 0.05,
So we can conclude that there is a significant difference of mean drug addicts between the state area in Malaysia.
next, we decide to construct Post-Hoc Test, which is done pairwise test. From the result, so this is the result for our pairwise comparison test. So the decision is if the p-value is less than 0.05, so we can conclude that there are significant difference between the state area comparison.
Okay, for chapter 5 is conclusion and recommendation. Based on the analysis we have done, our study results show that Malaysian drug addicts occurs in all states and are divided into several characteristics. In the nutshell, it can be expressed that characteristics at once, age, gender and states are the circumstance of people who get involved in drug addiction. for drug addicts by gender show that the most of drug addicts are among male rather than female. This study also brought the fact that drug addicts are significant difference between the treatments group. This means that at least one main drug addict among the age is different. On the other hand, drug addiction is positively associated with gender and age due to the number of men and women of different age who have been involved in the drug abuse problem. Therefore, there is an average and meaningful relationship between drug addicts and every state in Malaysia. Okay, for the future research purpose, we would like to recommend that the researcher will give a look at the sample of the study. In this study, the sample are cross-sectional survey because data collected from a population at one specific point in time and cannot manipulate variables. Thus, we are unable to maximize the diversity of the respondent and obtain the data from them. Next is the scope of this study is limited to only focus on the drug addiction, age, state and gender. So, future research should include some other contributing factor in order to measure the drug addiction.